Hi, welcome to today's episode. I'm Jessica Cash, co-founder of Salt Health, and I'm here today with our Salt Health's personal trainer, Lance Drinkard, and certified Breathwork Facilitator, and my co-founder, chief medical officer, physician, functional medicine physician extraordinaire, Dr. Aunna Herbst. And we're here today to talk about a really cool tool that I'm just learning about, and I hope that you can join us and learn more with me. Breathwork. And Lance has been working in breathwork and is passionate about this subject. And so I'm really excited to get to talk to you about today. Tell me a little bit, Lance, about your journey to breathwork and how you even tapped into this resource for wellness.
My journey probably began almost 5 years ago, and it led to breathwork in kind of an odd manner. I got injured and was trying to heal myself, and was in competitive triathlons and followed my VO2 max very tightly and was very proud of getting it to a certain level. Post-injury, I watched it drop drastically and pretty quick by not being able to train. That was frustrating to say the least. And in reading a book by James Nestor, Breathe, I was intrigued that the manipulation of carbon dioxide and things like that could help your body accelerate performance, basically. So that led into meditation and some other things. Oddly enough, there was no way that you could increase your VO2 max based on what I had read from any type of breathing, meditation, breath work. But as about month 3 in through meditation and breath work, my VO2 max steadily started to rise. That intrigued me tremendously because I didn't know that was possible and read that it wasn't. So from there, it kind of took off on a journey, to say the least.
That's fantastic, guy. Dr. Herbst, we wanted to bring you in today because I wanted your medical perspective of how your background and how breathwork really goes hand in hand with functional medicine and healing.
Sure. Probably a different take, but more along the lines of lowering what I refer to as fight or flight, lowering that fight or flight system. That parasympathetic system should raise. And in order to heal, we need more of that rest and digest system, not so much of the fight or flight system active. And so breathing and meditation for me has been a way that I've been able to help mitigate some of my stresses during the day. Also helps with a lot of people on their healing journeys, improve sleep, etc. So if you're asking me from a medical standpoint, I would say helping a person heal by lowering fight or flight, increasing rest and digest, and then also not only resetting the autonomic nervous system, but also helping them release stressors or maybe some emotional stressors that are keeping them from getting to that next level of healing. So I find that breathwork can be helpful in that way.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it can help with healing physically, but also emotionally.
Emotionally, yeah. Spiritually, emotionally, yeah, exactly. And I find that in people, in my practice at least, they'll get better from a physical standpoint sometimes to a certain level, sort of plateau. And then oftentimes there's a deep dive needed into the emotional world or the stressor world, whatever it is. And they may not even be aware of it. So sometimes it's cellular memory type stuff that's stored down, happened a long time ago. Sometimes it's day-to-day stressors that they're dealing with constantly and not sure how to release it. So for me, I think those types of layers are integral in a person's optimal wellness. So when we shoot for optimum, we're going to peel back all the layers, whether it's, emotional, physical, et cetera.
So Lance, I feel like as somebody from the outside, breathwork is a very vague term. What is it? What does it mean? Is there different types of breathwork? And if so, what type are you trained in and how do you facilitate that?
Yeah, so breathwork is a term kind of like fitness, pretty broad. So what is fitness? I mean, is it pickleball? Is it running? Is it cycling?
All of the
above. Breathwork also has a lot of modalities with it. So there's Wim Hof. There's all kinds of things that we do. This particularly is conscious connected breathwork and a circular motion that simply, it does actually put you in a fight or flight state for a limited amount of time, allowing the body and brain to process as you go through.
And process what? Process pain? Process
Keep going. Keep going. Absolutely. Yeah. So pains, traumas, stresses, and it can be as simple as everyday stresses from work to deep traumas from your past. As you get into it, and we set intentions when we begin that, but once we do that, we really ask you to let that go, because your body and the breath in your brain knows what it needs to do, and your body's going to find that release for itself. So your focus is just to focus on that breath work, on that regimen, and great things are going to happen.
So if I'm understanding this really quickly, it's similar in my mind to a very focused, guided mindfulness, maybe, in the sense that you're focused on something that would be the breath in a circular or a certain pattern. And when you do that, is that possible that it's taking away some of those inhibitions that we tend to have when we're constantly filtering our outside world? So we're getting rid of a lot of that in this process, or am I wrong in that?
No, I think so. And I struggled with meditation in the beginning very much. Just if you're wound kind of tight, I think like I am, you're like, rest, sit still, don't think. Well, tell me not to think, I'm going to think more. You know what I mean? So it's tough. So you're sitting there trying to just meditate. Well, with this, you're obviously lying down, and you're simply focused on this breathing pattern. And that is your job. And then once that kicks in, processes in your body kick in, allowing that healing and that processing of emotion to happen.
So how is this circular pattern different from other breath work?
Yeah, so there's, as an example, holotropic, Wim Hof, all of those are different methods of breathing, taking in oxygen or limiting oxygen or things like that. This is simply, it's 2 breaths in and 1 breath out, and it's 1 diaphragmatic into the belly. Next is up high into the chest, and then you simply exhale very easily. Don't force it out, just let it fall out. And I'll walk you through that in the beginning of how to do that. But and then we just stick through that process of 2 breaths in and 1 breath out with no pauses in between. It is continual.
And so just this process of guided breathing is enough to release some of these emotions and these stresses.
Yeah, so that has to do with this whole frontal cortex business, right?
So she's going to be the expert on those types of things. But yes, what we understand is your prefrontal cortex, the front, your thinking part of your brain, the critic, the one that's always telling you you're not enough, not good enough, you made these mistakes that you're carrying along with you every day, that in me ended up having a lot to do with the relationships and things that I was responding in a manner based on stress from days, weeks before. With that shutting down, that self-critic shutting down, you're just breathing and focusing. That other part of your brain is able to dig in and just kind of relieve and let those things go. It sounds almost too good to be true somewhat, but I've got personal experience and some friends that have had some amazing results with this.
So I had Tim Steen, a registered dietitian, on last week, and he talked a lot about sleep. And he even used the example, and I thought it was great, of your brain goes through a dishwasher cycle at night of renewing, and that if you're not getting that good deep sleep and you're not allowing your brain to revive at night, then you're going to struggle through the next day. And so this sounds like another tool of that, just cleansing that we all need to do on a daily, minute by minute basis.
Absolutely.
But
you're exactly right. It simply is a tool, right? One of many tools that are out there to relieve stress. Absolutely. But I thought it to be an excellent one for me.
Yeah, I really love that. And I love the idea that sometimes if you're stuck, especially in a healing process, that, okay, what's something new I could try? What's a new avenue? And I love that breathwork is sounding like another tool. So, Dr. Herbst, you mentioned the nervous system. Can you explain in layman terms how that helps us relax?
Yeah, sure. So, in layman's terms, in order to digest your food, in order to go to sleep, in order to process a complex situation or problem, we need to be in what's called a rest and digest mode. Parasympathetic system needs to be at its best. In order to run from the bear, to escape from harm, you need to be in that more fight or flight system. So that's your sympathetic nervous system. If you are constantly in sympathetic action, or you're always running from the bear or fight or flight, not only is it causing things like immune suppression, cortisol surges and weight gain, but it interrupts sleep. It also puts you into a state of constant fight or flight from an emotional standpoint or from a cognitive standpoint, a thought process standpoint. So everything that I do, if I am rested and calm, if you jump out from the corner and you scare me, if I'm calm and rested and have released a lot of those traumas and stresses during the day and at night when you're resting, for instance, or go to a breathwork class, then I'm not going to go and need to be revived. I don't need CPR. If you jump around that corner and I've stayed in that fight or flight state constantly all day long, then you're going to probably need to revive me. So my reactions are more over the top when my cup is full of stressors. But if I can relieve and take those down a notch or two or three, I can handle much more on a day-to-day basis. I also then can allow my body to heal, work optimally, exercise at its peak, etc. So anytime you can have a tool or modality that can lower fight or flight, raise the part that heals us, and also restore the body, what a great thing to add to your toolbox.
So that brings up a question for me, kind of. I know I'm supposed to be answering them, but this. So there's two parts to this that are intriguing to me: is the physical healing and some systems in your body like sleep, HRV, rested heart rate, things like that. And I've worked hard to manipulate those in different ways. But I kind of, since I've got you cornered in a room, I wanted to ask this: if I, in a severely stressed out state, for a lot of different reasons, applying breath work to this, if I am limiting that fight or flight significantly throughout, is that possible that helped my VO2 max increase in that case? If I'm doing everything the same, that complete and large reduction of stress, is that allowing my body to perform and heal better? Is that why I'm seeing better sleep in myself? Possibly. Rested heart rate, HRV, VO2 max, those types of things get better, even though from an exercise perspective, I'm kind of doing the same thing. That amount of stress reduction, that should be, I'm seeing that's helping those areas as well.
I would think so. I think logically, I'm not an expert in this field, but logically it makes sense to me. One, you're going to digest your food better. Therefore, you're getting better nutrient absorption. You get better nutrient absorption, then your hormones are better controlled. That also means you sleep better at night. You sleep better at night, then you get to clean out all the cobwebs from the day, et cetera, like Tim was referring to. I think all in all, I would say indirectly it would be very critical, and it could prove to be really positive.
Something I heard in that is relationships. That when I'm at that fight or flight, like you mentioned, I'm going to react instead of respond, whether that's to my coworkers, whether that's to my children, whether that's to my husband or my friends.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times I feel like I don't necessarily want to react. I want to respond, but I don't have it in me. I'm already at that high level. And so I love adding a tool that's during the day because we're, of course, at night we can all hope to get that good rest and have very clean sleeping habits. But during the day, life happens. Things get stressful. We have Northwest Arkansas traffic.
Right.
What are some things we can do? Well, so Lance, tell me a little bit, because you mentioned sometimes you have a physical reaction during breath work. Warmth, tingling. Tell me what that is and why we would experience that.
Well, initially it's a little strange. So your body's going to go through three can be seemingly strange changes. Physically, your arms, your hands may tingle a little bit. Your face might get cold. Changes like that can and will happen. Emotionally, emotions are going to come up. Let them come up. That's good. You want to let them come up. These things all happen to us, and we don't realize that these emotions kind of get stuck on our body. And what's happening is they're being released. So let those emotions come up.
Is this good and bad emotions?
I'm going to say so. Yes. That's what I wanted to comment on. So two things. One, the reason you get cold and tingly, one part of that is when you put someone into a temporary state of fight or flight, adrenally, the body thinks it's running from the bear, it's going to be attacked, and arm might get ripped off. So blood will shunt to the core. So you're getting more blood flow to the brain, to the heart, to the vital organs, right? Totally normal response. You should expect that. That means you're doing something great. The second part is I've done a couple of breathwork classes and courses for myself, And I didn't have a huge emotional release except for one time. And so I will say that not always, and he can always correct me, but not always do they have, and that doesn't mean a big release. That doesn't mean it was a failed, course or a failed class. They may go home and start to process things more. They may find that they're handling their stressors or their spouse or their children's reactions and interactions better, as I did. I felt something really was powerful, but I didn't have the same emotional release that I saw other people having until the third time I did it. And then I did have some crying that I did, and I really couldn't pinpoint why, but it was just a really nice release for me. So would you add to that? Like, not everybody has that, and it's okay, right?
100%.
That wasn't bad.
And I don't think you can put your finger on, hey, I want to have this type of response, or I want to have this big of a response. Like I said, your body and your brain is going to do what it needs. There are some things that I've had classes and members do that have helped release the setting and journaling and setting the stage for what you're looking to get into and out of it does help. Fasting has had a big response in breathwork prior to. Regardless, in coming out of it, that freedom and peace is always there. Whether you get that big release of certain emotions, I don't think you can plan on that.
I slept really great that night.
I've had so many responses to that. It's crazy that sleep ends up being
yeah,
one of the biggest benefits coming out of it. I slept for 5 hours after. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is this something that you do in a group, or is it something you do one-on-one?
Yeah.
Or is it something you do you have to have an instructor? Give us a structure if you don't.
Absolutely. So no, an instructor helps for sure, especially for the longer, deeper sessions. Being guided. I guide through love and abundance. We'll guide through clearing toxic relationships, which can be a big deal. Some guidance in those areas are very helpful. I always spend some time with folks at the end of how to utilize this type of breath work on their own. 10, 12 minutes in the morning before work is wonderful. It is fantastic. It's a great way to start your day.
But it's not the same.
Peace. But it's not, no, of course it's not the same.
I tried.
It's not the same, but nonetheless, it is still healthy. It is. So, no, a guided session definitely has significantly more value.
Because there's a lot more to it. There's like the knowledge that comes from the instructor that help you sort of work through things. There's tools and things they have on hand, weighted blankets, handbags, things like that. There's music that's tailored specifically to the topic at hand. So it's actually really powerful. I tried to go the cheap route and do my own, did my research, thought I knew what I was doing. It was not at all the same. Yeah. So I'm going to say it's not the same.
Yeah. And it's similar to a lot of things like that. But
kind of like working out with personal trainer.
Right. That's true. Good point. Fair enough.
The camaraderie and accountability in personal training is a big deal. Sure. That's a good example.
Maybe knowledge too.
Right.
Yeah.
It helps. It does.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So, would you mind leading us through a little sample breathwork? Would you be okay with doing something like that? Or
are you okay with me breaking down and crying on this podcast? No, I'm kidding. It's actually pretty simple. And to her point, in a class, I'm going to guide you through that, help you go deeper, follow rhythms. I'm going to sense what's going on and just talk you through it. It's great. But it's two parts to your breath. And a lot of folks don't even realize when they breathe that they are breathing up high and in their chest. And I found out in a certain period of my time, stressed out, I was breathing up super high in my chest and shallow. And that is it's a great example of that fight or flight, stressed out, super tight, and it's triggering all kinds of responses in your body. And that's not how you want to breathe. You also want to breathe primarily through your nose. When I began, I'm like, okay, we're going to be breathing through our mouth. And some folks that have been into breathwork will be like, no, you never breathe through your mouth. Don't breathe through your mouth. And I'm like, great, don't. But now we're going to. So you first want to breathe into your belly. And none of us like to have our belly to protrude, but a deep breath through your mouth. Let that belly expand. The second breath is high up into your chest. Fill that chest. And then simply let it fall. And without a pause, you begin that process and that cycle all over again. So belly, chest, release. Belly, chest, release. Just like that. And it's continual without any pauses or breaks in between.
Very
and
cool.
that's it.
Wow. It reminds me of being in band when I was in
Yes.
school.
Belly breathe.
My wind instructor would say, start in your belly and breathe up. And I don't think I've done that in a while. But you definitely get.
You asked about the things that go on, and that tingling, that getting hot and sweaty, things like that. Which, great job on explaining that. That's super helpful. That happens. One of the biggest ones outside of that is mentally. Your brain acts independent of me. Sometimes it does, but it does not want you to do this, and it kind of knows that it's getting shut off. So you're going to be fidgeting, you're going to be wanting drinks of water, you're going to want to fix your hair, you're going to want to fix your shorts, you're going to be doing all kinds of things. You're going to want to get up and leave, hang with it. That simply means it's working.
It's really short though, really. What is it? How many minutes as a general rule?
Yeah, typically it's 23 to 29 minutes of active breath work that we're doing in that, and then some rest and pauses after that. But yeah, 23 to 29 minutes. But your brain's going to freak you out and be like, get out, don't do this.
So if somebody is hesitant to try, this is a new tool and we're always a little nervous about things that we don't understand, what would you say to them?
Oh, come try it. There's never been any that we know of, any negative or adverse effect in doing this breath work.
It's the safest
thing. It's as safe as it gets. I mean, it's more dangerous to lift weights. It's more dangerous to go into the sauna. Legitimately, I mean, it is. But few good things come sitting in our comfort zone. Sometimes we got to stretch out a little bit and try that. But from a safety perspective, it doesn't get any safer than this breath work.
And if I can speak to just about Lance and the atmosphere he creates, it's one of love and peace and non-judgment. And so I really appreciate that about, because I don't know that I would just trust anybody. And I think a lot of people feel like that, especially with something new. And so I appreciate that you bring that to the table because it's really important.
No, I'm glad you said that. It needs to be a safe space. It does. And it is a safe space.
And you don't always have to do it in groups, right? Like, I think you asked that earlier, maybe we didn't answer it, but you can do it in groups and it is very powerful and effective. I did it a few times as a group. But the individual sessions also are available, private, powerful. You can get a little deeper. I think couples even do it sometimes, right? They have.
Yeah, you mentioned the different paths and the breakthroughs that you've seen in those. So yes, group sessions are great. It is more powerful in a private session for sure. Obviously, you're not concerned about your surroundings, and that freedom to release is obviously much more there. Some of the most powerful sessions that I've seen and had are with spouses and partners. That gets crazy. I mean, you literally sit down with one another and kind of share some light grievances and things like that, then share your love for one another, lie down, breathe, and wow, it's amazing. I mean, it really is. They've even had a mother-daughter breathe together and seen some wonderful relational growth out of that. So it's amazing.
So do you usually encourage people to do multiple sessions in a row, every day, every week, once a month? How do you, or if you're trying to address a specific issue, do you recommend, what kind of recommendations?
There's no doubt your need for breath work, it just in my opinion, kind of decreases over time. It does. There's no doubt about it. But it is similar to going to the gym. I mean, you need to work out, you need to get healthy, you need to release, those types of things. Definitely multiple sessions. For me, a healthy start for me was once a week for a while, just because I had some things I wanted to work through. After that, it's kind of as you feel, as you're comfortable, because you're processing your own stuff, and you know what you need, you know what you feel. So as you feel better, as you're gonna want to come back, because once you feel it, you're like, okay, this is fantastic. I want this. I need this. But then as time goes on, and it's funny, there is a one-to-one relationship that I've found with those physical symptoms of tingling and numbness, that tends to dissipate also as you go through. Why, I don't know, but it tends to, for sure. Also, I can do sessions on Zoom soon, which is nice. Also not as powerful, but virtual is possible. Private group sessions, yeah, nice.
And so if somebody would like to book with you, they go to the Salt Health webpage and they can click on your link and book either a 10 package session or an hour session.
Yep.
We also have some classes for Salt Health members and non-members.
Yeah, thanks for that. Allowing non-members to come in and enjoy. That's great.
Yeah,
for sure.
We do believe it's a great tool.
Yeah.
And I think that anything that we can offer to let people experience healing is
Absolutely.
important. So awesome. Do either of you have anything you want to add? Or
I think I want to add one thing that's kind of off topic, but I just thought of it. So a lot of emotional healing and work for trauma and for just in general wellness from a mental standpoint, wanting to perform better, et cetera. People are getting into psychedelic therapies and psychedelic treatments and so forth. To me, this is similar in its effect and outcome without the drugs. So if you're looking for, a deeper dive into the psyche, releasing some of that conscious filter, allowing the subconscious to come forward a little bit more, if you're allowing maybe wanting emotions to remove themselves so that you can think clearer, maybe get more creative, but you're worried about, you're in a state where it's illegal, or you can't find a therapist, you can't afford ketamine treatments 6 in a row, et cetera. This, to me, is a wonderful, healthy outlet that is very similar to those, having similar effects.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I've had some conversations with folks that have done both, and they draw a direct relationship to psychedelic therapy and breath work.
wow,
They do.
that's powerful.
It is very powerful, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So on a last note, do you have any success story that you would like to share? Just a general, obviously no use names or anything like that, but we all love hearing success stories.
Yeah, more than I can count. That's the great part. I think I'll start with myself. I struggled with something with my dad for a long period of time. Had a great upbringing, but there was just some things that ate at me. And those little things that ate at me got worse and worse and worse over time. They simply did. To where now, getting closer to an end of life scenario with my dad, every conversation was rough, abrupt, always bickering and whatnot. And I knew it was almost me looking for a fight or looking for we even go through Walmart and it's always bickering and things like that. And I had so desired to have just some kind of reconciliation or release in that. And we just couldn't connect or talk about whatever. We just didn't. And I didn't have success in breath work with that. I didn't. And finally, to your point, one time, I worked pretty hard at it and I did. So what that relationship looked like almost immediately after was just peace. I can't explain it, in a sense that now when I visit him and speak with him, I'm not concerned about any of those things or whatever was on my mind before. I'm just spending time with and enjoying my dad, which is wonderful. I can't put words to it very well, except that I want to be with him. I want to make sure that he's okay. I want to communicate with him. I want to find out about what's going on with him. It's wonderful.
So
and
just
I
to be
didn't have
clear
the
on
ability
that-
to do that before. I just didn't. There was always an ulterior motive or always something hanging in there that I couldn't even put my fingers on. Now I don't care. He's my dad, and I just want to be with him and love on him. It's gonna make me
Just be
sad.
clear on that. Yeah. So I'll change it for you. But just to be clear, I think you said at the beginning, it didn't happen with breathwork. It didn't happen at the beginning in your first few sessions. It happened on the 4th or 5th session.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to clear that up because
Correct.
it was that.
Correct. But other good things happened. Other good things happened in those breathwork sessions. Just
It took
that
some
was a
time to
big
get there.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
And it was tangible, no doubt about it. Yeah, that's great.
And so you directly attribute that healing in that relationship through your intentional work through breathwork.
100%. 100%. And very recently, 45 and 65-year-old men, which, 45 and 65-year-old men, they're pretty guarded and not in the sharing mindset. But I recently had 2 sessions with these guys that, maybe we'll get into testimonials at some point in time. Deeply shared things that were on their hearts and minds that they were now willing to embrace and get into and work through. One with children and one with a spouse. And it was, I can't say more than just beautiful. It was.
Mine wasn't as exciting, but I am going to add because as a physician, I think this is a powerful tool for us, and maybe more of us should be working this into our repertoire. But we're taught to compartmentalize, to shut off our emotions, to just push forward and move forward. And so the inability to cry and to release is a big deal. And so I had a lot of things built up over the years that I worked through, and I thought I was handling them fine. But having that final breathwork session, or the third one or so, where I finally was able to cry, that was huge. I didn't even know what I was crying about, but I was crying and it felt wonderful. And afterwards, it was such a big release and such a big ha. And again, it's not as exciting of a story, but for me, it was like a big weight was lifted off. So it may not be as flamboyant. You may not get to do a podcast and have a great tell, but whatever level of healing you have, whether it's you increase your VO2 max, or you rode a little harder the next day, or you slept great that night or the next 5 nights, or you cried a little and you don't know why you cried, I still think those are all wins. And so anyway, I just wanted to throw that
Or
out
at work, you're able to listen and be a part of a conversation without waiting to put something in, or you're just not quite as abrasive or things like that. But to your point, to not having the fireworks experience is great, because that, I think of another one that was recently, like about a month ago. I'm watching this person in breathwork, and I'm like, this is like an epic failure. There's nothing going on. I mean, it's crickets. It was terrible. It wasn't terrible. So we chatted a little bit after, and it was pretty uneventful. Got a text the next day and said, I extremely struggle with sleep. And I just was down after that session for 5 solid hours. And I had a journaling session and processing session with myself that was as deeper than any of my counseling sessions in the last 3 years. Well, that is, to me, is everything, because that's a new road, a path to healing going forward for that person. That's it. That will stick forever. That is just one leg forward, step by step, and getting healthier. So it's not a one-to-one. It's not, a ton of people don't cry. It's not that. It's internal. It's release, it's peace, and you can walk in that a little bit better every day.
Thank you for clarifying that, because it's a little terrifying to think that
you have to cry.
Yeah, and you're going to end up like spilling your guts.
I did not.
Like knocks in a puddle of tears.
So did that.
Somebody like me says no.
Yeah, I know.
I
Same.
really like the idea of, just
Stress release
to the process and allowing to work through the process in whatever that means for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
So that's the point. You're in complete control. You're in complete control. If you were to get uncomfortable, something goes on, I'm right there, and we simply start breathing through our nose a little bit, and your body's back to homeostasis. It's all good in a matter of 30 seconds. But I fought for a long time in that and did not have that release. And then once I gave in, had the release that I mentioned. So you're in control both ways. You're in control to bring yourself out and be comfortable. You're in a little bit of control too, to not go deeper.
I think the body will do what it needs to do.
The body, absolutely. The body will respond as it needs to. But I say, if you feel that welling up and coming out, let it flow. Let it out. Your body knows what it needs to let it happen.
I love it. It's a good foundation to set 2025. And I'm really glad we got you in here and you got to share about this great new tool that Salt Health is offering. And we're glad to have you. And I need to have you back, and we need to talk about personal training and all the aspects that you bring for that also. But if you are interested in scheduling a breathwork session with Lance, check out the Salt Health's website. We've got his page there with the scheduling link, and we look forward to talking to you more.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.